All right, Nick Baldwin for MMAsucker.com here with the Mercenary Combat League president, Andrija Pavlic. Andre, months in the making. We're finally here. We talked in March. MCL was brand new. You just started it, although you had planned it since last summer, and here we are just 4 days away from your first show. How has this whole experience, how has the process gone? You weren't too sure how it would go in March. 6 months in, how is everything? How are you feeling?
Well, I'm pretty confident that we have a great fight card put together. I mean, Gabe Santos has done a great job. Great business partners, so I've had a lot of support, with those guys with the business side. And like I said before, sponsors, fighters, managers, everybody being really supportive. So starting off with a lot of positive emotion and feeling going into it. And we've had our ups and downs. There's always going to be challenges when you're running a small business, because that's what that is. And but we're 4 days away, and we're excited.
Has it been tough balancing your full-time job? I know you mentioned you still work full-time. What do you do actually, career-wise, your day job? And has it been tough doing this on the side? Because sometimes, people promote cards as their full-time job. It's a job that, could be full-time. Here, yep. It's on the side.
Well, my full-time job, I work for the Government of Canada. I work for the public service, and I do work shift work. So it is challenging sometimes to work shifts and then run this sort of thing on the side. And I also run a small business on the side as well. So I've got my plate full, and I also have a family. So it's been very challenging, overwhelming, but great support at home, and my coworkers and my business partner Jonathan, who's hiding over there somewhere, and matchmaker Gabe Santos, who has experience in the business. So, yeah.
One question about the card, about Gabe Santos. How much? He's your matchmaker, of course. How much say have you had in this? How many of these fights that we have 11 fights on Friday night at MCL 1? How many of these fights have you put together? How many has he? Has it been more of a group effort?
Well, actually, all the fights were Gabe Santos. I mean, sometimes he'd have me involved, and hey, we have this being proposed, we have that. I mean, he kept me informed, and he'd ask for my opinions and whatnot on certain fighters, but that was all Gabe. Gabe came through, and we have 11 solid fights, all confirmed, contract signed, all approved by the commission. They all got their medicals. I mean, he did a great job. I fought for Gabe back in the day, and he always put together great cards. So I'm very happy with Gabe being the matchmaker.
So, as you said, with everything, especially putting on fights, especially for the first time, there's challenges, there's easy parts of it. What would you say has been, the most difficult things about this? Is it finding fighters? Is it, getting the venue? What's most difficult? And what have you found, admittedly pretty easy?
Everything, it's coming together, but not without its challenges. But it's hard to say what the biggest challenges were. Like, there was, things come up where a fighter gets injured, or you require certain paperwork because, for whatever reason, with a fighter, for example, competing in Ontario, all of a sudden they need MRIs and whatnot. And that comes at short notice, so then you have to find new opponents. So the most challenging part is making sure you have fighters with all their paperwork, and then if things fall apart, close to the event, is finding guys that will fill those spots.
So when a fighter falls out, because I know there have been fighters that, these 11 fights you have booked are not the, the first 11 fights. That's fair to say, right?
That's right, yeah. We had 2 officially fall through, but we had several. Actually, there was 3 that fell through. They didn't materialize, but
and even injuries too.
That's right, yeah. So I think 1 was due to injuries. A fighter just decided not to fight anymore, and then we had another one couldn't get all the proper medical paperwork done in time.
Is it difficult to deal with when a fighter falls out, especially as a guy who you're still new to this? This is your first show. Do you just brush it aside? Find a new opponent. Not think about it too much, or is it disappointing when a guy falls out?
Well, I mean, if you want things to run smoothly, you never want that to happen, because you want to concentrate and put your efforts towards promoting the business or the event itself. But when that happens, it throws a wrench in, and you have to spend a lot of time on that. So, but thankfully, I had Gabe Santos with me, working for me and working with me, and showing me the ropes in some things, and he pulled through, man. But myself, when I used to fight, that happened to me a few times. Guys pull out, they get injured, or whatever reason, they don't show up. And it happens a lot, and it's part of the game. So going into it, I knew what to expect.
I would assume that you're happy with the card, you know, the finalized card, 11 fights, Brad Katona versus Steven Cervantes in the main event. Are you happy with how it all shaped up, even though, you know, there's a few guys, I'm sure, that you're disappointed aren't on this card?
Yeah, I mean, like Winnipeg has a lot of great local talent, and you're going to see it on Friday night. There's a lot of great fighters, a lot of great fights. The main event in particular, I mean, Brad Katona, Steven Cervantes. Cervantes coming from New Mexico, great record, good experience, comes from a solid gym, and he's fighting Brad Katona, who's never fought professionally in Winnipeg before. It's his first time, and he's undefeated, so it's a great main event. And then you have other locals on the card who are making their debut. Right, Andy Jack versus Brett Dumas, who's coming from Puckatawagan. That's an interesting fight. Lee Gaudette versus Mike O'Neill. That's another interesting fight. So we have a very diverse card in terms of records, guys that are more experienced, guys that are debuting, and then, you know, guys like Brad Katona.
How many guys are you actually flying in? Cervantes in the main event. Any others?
There's a couple. There's one from Alberta. There's a couple from Ontario, or 3 from Ontario that we're flying in. Which is Havorka, who's coming from London, Ontario. He's trained by Chris Hordecki and Mark Hominick. And then we have 2 guys coming from Albert Mady's gym, Chuck Mady and Sam Amro from Windsor, Ontario.
Was it a priority to make this card not just Winnipeg fighters? Obviously, you want your fair share of Winnipeg guys. You know, people can cheer them on in their hometown. And of course, this is the first Winnipeg card, as everybody knows, since, you know, in 3 years. So was it a priority to make this more so an international card, have some guys from the States, have some guys from Saskatchewan, Alberta, you know, and so on? Was that something you wanted to do for sure?
Yes, that is something I want to do for sure, because I think when you mix it up like that, people take you a bit more serious. I mean, you bring in guys from high-quality gyms, you bring them in from other provinces. You want to do that. And then also, fans want to see crosstown matchups like Dave Swanson, Ryan Pang. 2 very highly skilled lightweights, great grapplers, great strikers, training a long time. They're in the same city, different gyms, and now they're going to fight, you know, Friday night, and that's going to be a great match. So, yeah.
And one guy I got to ask you about is Mariusz Onskiewicz. He's a guy out of WAMA. He's had bad luck. He has, you know, had a lot of fights fall through. Look at Prestige FC 1, October 2015. He was supposed to fight Mike Hill. That fight fell through. He was, you wanted him on this card. What exactly happened? I mean, even on your website, even on the MCL website, he was in a banner, and clearly this is a guy you wanted on the card. He's one of the biggest Winnipeg prospects. What happened?
Oh, well, basically, I mean, a guy like that, one of the biggest prospects, much like Brad Katona, or someone like Travis Gervais. They're big names in the city, and you want them on your card because they're going to put people in the seats. And also, you want to promote those fighters. They want to get the fights. That's why I have this promotion here. Get local fighters the fights they need that can get them to the next level. And there's some guys that are very close to making it. I believe he's one of them. And, I mean, for several reasons. I mean, from a business standpoint, you want him there because fans would love to watch him fight. And he has a lot of support here. He's a big draw. Another reason is because he's a high-quality fighter. He's close to making it to the show, so he needs fights. And it's been almost a year for him, and he's had several fights, you know, not like they fell through, and he's just having bad luck. He's having bad luck. So unfortunately, we couldn't get him a fight, but we'll see what happens next time around.
Well, you mentioned that he could be close to making it to the big leagues, the UFC Winnipeg's coming up. As a local promoter, do you have any sort of discussions with the UFC as far as, you know, getting, say, Brad Katona, should he win on Friday night, maybe, you know, Mariusz, whoever? Is that a discussion you're having to get MCL fighters to the UFC, particularly for UFC Winnipeg?
I don't have any contact or discussions with them, per se, but I believe if there are discussions on the UFC's part with these fighters, it's with their management and who manages them. With me, not so much. But I have read a lot of reports. You know, you go on other mixed martial arts websites or forums, and those are the 2 names that usually pop up for Winnipeggers that are next to make it to the show. You know, we had Roland Delorme, Louis Facette, Joe Dirksen, Krzysztof Szynski, and now people are speculating that a guy like Brad Katona or Mariusz Onskiewicz are next in line to make it there. But they need a couple opportunities before they can go to that show.
Well, Steven Cervantes, Brad Katona in the main event. Talk about how you came to this fight as your main event, why it's the main event, why it's happening, how this all came together.
Well, I mean, those two guys they have great records. They're highly skilled. Obviously, Brad's from Winnipeg, right? So he is a big draw. He's undefeated. He's 5-0 as a pro. And, I mean, we're bringing a guy in from a solid gym from New Mexico who's coached by the same people that have coached guys like John Jones, Carlos Condit, Tim Kennedy. So that's a serious fight right there. You know, that's a serious fight. You have two young, highly skilled, highly trained guys that are be going at it on Friday night, and that's the main event. I mean, it was pretty easy to come up with the main event with those guys on the card.
Now, MCL has a relationship with Manitoba Sports Network, which is a broadcasting company here in Winnipeg and Manitoba that broadcasts local sports, hockey, now MMA, of course. Will Winnipeg fight fans who are not attending the show, will they have access to a live stream? Will other Canadians, will other people, no matter where they are in the world, how does that all work? Will there actually be a live stream for people not there?
There will be a live stream for people not there. So if you follow the Facebook page or you follow our website, you'll see a link shortly in the next few days, which will tell you where to watch the fights on Friday night, especially for people obviously from out of town, in the U.S. and across Canada.
As we've said before, this is your first time putting on a show. How much have you paid attention to the Canadian MMA local scene in general throughout these past, the past year even? I would assume it's something you keep your eye on, a lot, obviously.
Not as much as I hoped to, because I've been so busy putting together my own show. So and plus with my other career, like my real job, and then being a father and a husband, there's a lot of things on my plate. So I don't even watch TV anymore, man. Like, it's hard to keep track of everything that's going on. But I'll read some articles or go on, other websites and check out what's going on.
Even just finding, fighters for this card, you have to scout a little bit.
Oh, absolutely, for sure. But then again,
I guess that's Gabe Santos' job.
Up to Gabe Santos, he's the man. He put it together, so, and yeah, I haven't had much time, but I do pay attention to the scene, just not as much as I'd like to.
As a local Canadian MMA promoter, do you feel like you have competition? This is the only show in Winnipeg, so not citywide, but countrywide, getting fighters, not bribing them, obviously, but making it so they want to be on your card, and it makes sense for them, as far as how big the show is financially, et cetera, et cetera. Do you have competition, do you feel?
Well, yeah, there's competition out there, not like regionally, obviously, like you said, but there's some decent promotions out there, and but we're new on the block, and we're looking to compete with them. That's why I'm here. I have 11 solid fights right off the hop on my first card, our first card, and I think people are taking notice right away. We're gonna make things happen here in Winnipeg.
Since I last talked to you, of course, you were on my podcast in March, and we did a interview for Manitoba Sports Network just a couple months ago. Yeah. Has anything changed as far as your future plans? Has this been a good enough experience where you're like, okay, let's do 5 shows next year, or has it been the other way where you're thinking, okay, maybe just 1 show? Has this been too much, too little? What your future plans for MCL specifically, have they changed, or what are they?
Well, they haven't really changed a lot. I mean. Like everything else you do in life, you have short-term goals, right? And short-term goal is get the first show done and a success. And then you take a look and see what happens and try to put on a second or a third. So I have a very good feeling we'll be doing a second show. The experience has been good. The response has been good. Ticket sales are fantastic. Like front row and fourth row tables are sold out. We're 4 or 5 days out, so that's great. And my long-term goals is to do 2 or 3 shows a year, and I am looking at other cities as well. But I'm Winnipeg-based, so logically stay here because I'm the only show in town right now.
Which cities?
Geez, I have cities in my head. I don't want to reveal them right now. I would love to tell you, but I've been looking around, and there's some cities that I've been looking at. Yeah.
Is there one fighter in particular that's not on this card that you just really wish it all played out as you hoped? Ideal situation. Is there one fighter in particular, not even one matchup, but just one fighter? It doesn't matter his opponent, his or her opponent. Is there one fighter that's not fighting on Friday that you really wish was?
Jeez, that's a good question. There's a lot of great fighters out there. I mean, obviously, like we spoke earlier with Mariusz to be on the card, but there's a lot of great talent out there in this country, and there's a lot of good local talent. So, but for this card, I'm ecstatic with what we have. So, yeah, I'm not complaining. No complaints.
I asked you this in July. I'll ask you again because we're just a few days out. Do you feel the buzz? Do you feel the buzz in the city of Winnipeg? Are people, whether it's online, on social media, whether it's, people coming up to you on the streets? I don't know. Maybe it hasn't happened, but do you feel the buzz?
I definitely feel the buzz. No, people don't walk up to me on the streets and ask me. But definitely, I mean, Facebook messages, phone calls, and texts from people that get my number. Yeah, asking about the fights, who's fighting, ticket sales, stuff like that. Just general questions about the show. So every day leading up to it has been more and more. And mostly on social media, you get a lot of requests or a lot of questions asking about the show.
Alrighty, well, Mercenary Combat League 1 going down this Friday night, not Saturday, so be there Friday, don't show up a day late. And, of course, Andre's first show, be there, RBC Convention Centre here in Winnipeg, the first pro MMA show in almost 3 years. It'll be almost 3 years come Friday. Andre, thank you very much for the time. Plug away, social media, MCL, social media, anything you have to say. Thank you, sponsors, whoever, floor is yours.
Well, I'd like to thank all my sponsors. I'm going to rattle off as many as I can. Tommy Gunn's Barbershop, Four Crowns Bar and Grill, King Tote, Shortline Moving Company, Evolution Drivetrain and Diesel, Reboot Recovery Cryotherapy Clinic. I'm missing some, I know, and they're going to get mad. I'd like to thank my business partner, Jonathan Levine, Gabe Santos. Nick, you've been great, asking me to do interviews and whatnot. So. My family, all the fighters coming, and all the fans that have bought tickets for Friday night.
Thank you very much for the time.
Thank you, Nick.